You know what?
Get your bearings.
Not really sure that's the way to do it. Let me tell you what's a joke.
Tell me what you really feel.
Let me tell you
Steiny.
what. I was going to say, you guys are the worst out there. But then you really wouldn't know who specifically I'm talking about. Let me tell you what. If you're a horse's ass who's out there criticizing the U.S. women's team, you're a horse's ass. The United States women's team has been the most dominant team at the Women's World Cup, winning 4 titles in the first 8 editions of the tournament. They won in 91, 99. They won in 15 and 19, which is 2 out of the last 3. The U.S. women's national team has reached at least the semifinals in every single World Cup until this last one. Yeah, they stink. Yeah, they stink. You can't win all the time.
Actually, you can.
No, you can't.
Well,
no, you can't. You need to come out of dream world. You need to understand that other teams are competing, that other teams are getting better, other countries are getting better. I don't care if we're talking about the Warriors. I don't care if we're talking about the Niners. You guys, not all of you, but there's a small percentage of people that just think they're entitled to winning every single time they step on the field or the court. And if you don't, well, then you stink. Or you should get ripped or criticized. God, when did this happen? When did this start to happen? Where fans just win or you stink. Win or let's rip you. Win or let's mock you.
I'll tell you when it started.
Okay.
You want to read that list again you just went through about the amount of victories, the amount of times that the U.S. women's team has been in the semifinals?
The U.S. women's team, this is just an object, has been the most dominant team at the World Cup since its inception.
No doubt.
They've won 4 of 8 World Cups.
Yep.
That's half. 91, 99, 15, and 19. Mm-hmm. They've reached at least the semifinals in all 8 until this one, where they got knocked out in the round of 16.
That's why people are disappointed. That's why people are ripping them.
Everybody can be disappointed. I'm disappointed.
You don't sound
like it. But the vitriol and the condescension and some outward glee almost. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're still the most Spadone. Are we still the best country when it comes to women's soccer?
Not this year.
Hey, Evan, is your name Spadone? I don't think so.
Historically, yes.
Thank you. All right. You know what? Now we rebuild. That's the cycle of sports.
But that's why people are pissed.
Now you rebuild. Nobody has a right to be. They dominate. Here's the other thing about soccer. You can dominate a soccer game, and it's just like the NHL. You get a hot goalie, you got trouble. Sweden's goalie was terrific. It's terrific.
Yeah, and when the Russians don't win in hockey, they get pissed because they have historically.
Okay.
Well, sorry. Yeah.
And now you're going to talk about some of the soccer teams in South America who have pressure on them. They do. I get it.
There are expectations when you historically dominate a single sport.
So the expectation is to win every single year, and if you don't, it's more than a disappointment. It's a failure.
We were just talking about how the 49ers have the highest expectation that they've ever had under Kyle Shanahan.
No doubt.
That's why people are going to be mad when they don't win the Super Bowl.
This particular women's team.
Now imagine if the 49ers had won 4 Super Bowls in the last 8 years, and then they don't win it this year. People are going to be furious. It's just
they're idiots. Those people are idiots.
So in 2004, when the U.S. men's basketball team brought home the bronze.
Right. Well, that's different.
Why?
Because they were a dominant team. This
the
U.S.
women's team just won the gold in 2019.
This U.S. women's team was not their best version. It's not been their best team in the last, let's say, 10 years. The team that I saw in Vancouver in 19 was significantly better than this team. That team just ran the table.
You still have some of the same pieces?
Some.
And then you got some up-and-coming, young talent ready to turn into stars before our very eyes.
They were not and should not have been an overwhelming favorite to win it this year.
But they were the favorite.
Were they?
Yes.
Spadone by how much?
I mean, they were the favorites.
Favorites. Okay.
Yes.
And when the favorite doesn't win,
it's disappointing. But the favorite doesn't
people come down their road
100% of the time.
They were a significant favorite, if that helps. Vegas-wise, they were a significant favorite.
Right, but they didn't factor in the Sweden goaltender.
And they didn't factor in. We're not even talking about the finals. We're not talking about the semifinals. We're talking about being knocked out first round of the group stage. Outside of the group stage.
So what we do, and it's not a shtick. So what we do is we take a team that has had so much success, more than virtually any other team out there, and when they don't get it done, like it's worse than just I get disappointment, but the criticism is ridiculously over the top. Like this idea that if you don't win it all, everything else pales in comparison. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me.
When have you felt so confident in a team winning it all, Steiny, and then they've let you down? Because that's happened to me before.
Well, my point is this. If you want to take this whole argument to the extreme, okay, what the hell would a Pittsburgh Pirates fan have to root for? Like, they're not going to win it. They're never going to win it.
Don't never say never.
You know what I mean? So... well, you know what?
Wow.
They're losers too. They're no less losers than the USWNT team.
Lay off.
I don't care about this is what everybody. I don't care about details. Details don't matter. You either win it or you lose it. And if you lose it, you're a freaking loser. Plain and simple.
Yeah, but there are levels.
It's a joke.
There are levels to this, Steiny. There are levels to losing. If you lose when you're the Pittsburgh Pirates and you haven't won a championship since the 70s or whenever they did
it's okay then. That's right. So the teams with the higher stakes get criticized the most.
Yes.
Okay.
That's called the burden of expectation.
Well,
that's been around since the beginning of time.
Right. That's also
if
called...
I'm expected to go out and hunt a deer and I don't bring home dinner...
Careful.
Or, I don't know, venison, whatever you want to talk...
Rabbit.
Okay, fine.
A rabbit.
Fine. So then...
if I don't bring home Roger, I'm in trouble.
No, that's fine. So every athlete on the Pittsburgh Pirates, every single one of them, they get a pass. You know why they get a pass? Because they stink. They stink.
Are we talking about Roberto Clemente or are we talking about Ji-Hwan Bae?
Yeah. We're talking about teams that don't have a chance.
Did the U.S. women's team not have a chance?
No, they had a chance. That's what I put.
And poof, gone.
That's right. That's right. But in the buildup to the ripping of the U.S. women's team and ripping of the Golden State Warriors who couldn't get by the Lakers, wasn't it like the Warriors were who they were last year? Was last year a failure for the Warriors?
Some people would say it is.
saying yes. Why? They weren't the best team in the NBA.
They were defending champions.
But they weren't the best team in the NBA.
Tremendous failure. They didn't even get back to the conference finals. That'd be like the Chiefs going this year getting bounced in the first round by the Jaguars. Yes, it's a failure.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Well, that would also depend if the Chiefs are a wild card team this year.
Wiggins missed months. Klay Thompson was up and down.
That's why what we're talking about are two completely different things.
No, that's my point.
It would be more like if the Kevin Durant Warriors got bounced in the second round, and then you hop on the radio the next day and say, someone's got to lose. That's too bad.
Well, it's disappointing, but that's
a failure.
Does it take away from our two other type? But
it means that season failed.
Was the Warriors' loss to the Toronto Raptors a failure?
No.
Why?
Because
they got hurt.
Their two of their three best players got hurt. I'm sorry, was Megan Rapinoe taking a penalty kick last night?
Yes.
Or 2 nights ago?
Sure. Yes, she missed.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're not expecting her to miss. You're not expecting the U.S. women's team to tie Sweden.
My point is...
and then go to penalty kicks in the first place.
Be as disappointed as you want to be. But the fact of the matter is...
keep it to yourself, but don't say anything.
No.
Just sit in the corner and...
No, you can be disappointed.
This is too bad.
No, you can be disappointed, but like the complete and utter negligence of remembering all their like their loss is worth more than their wins. It doesn't it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. I get it. They didn't win it. They won the last two. You can't win every year.
See, but yes, you can.
No, who has? What team wins
just because
every
no one has
single year?
But you can win.
There's never been a team
literally
that hasn't been disappointed.
Okay, so if I say, hey, Steiny, you can't bowl a 300 every game, right?
Of course.
Yes, you can. You literally can.
No, you can't. You can't.
The expectation of a team that is superiorly talented.
This is ridiculous because you could say, well, yeah, you could roll three. What's the record for consecutive 300 games in bowling?
That's probably longer than you think. But
like 6, maybe. All right. You think somebody could roll 60 straight?
But if someone
I got a feeling no.
But if someone had rolled 6 straight 300 games,
right,
and then loses in the 7th,
with a 290.
But the women's team didn't bowl a 290.
We don't know that.
They bowled a 2. They lost. They didn't even get to the semifinals.
Listen. Why don't
we're not talking about them losing in the championship?
How come we're not talking about the Sweden goalie?
Because you didn't expect her to be that good.
Exactly. So let's praise the Sweden goalie, who was unbelievable.
Okay, she was great.
Instead of saying, what a failure, guess what? 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 is not enough. If I said to you right now, whoever, somebody's, we're just going to win 2 out of every next 3 titles. So guess what? Every third one, failure.
Not a failure unless the Golden State Warriors are the clear favorite to win it all. Like, if they are head and shoulders better as far as talent than the team that they lose to, and they don't come close to a title, again, I'm not talking about them losing in the finals to a team that had a great game. We're talking about them getting knocked out in the first round of the knockout stage against a team that they should have beaten. That's why people are disappointed.
I think I got no problem with disappointment.
And the Swedish goalie had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
So did Lonnie Walker in Game 3 and Game 4.
That's right.
But that doesn't absolve the Golden State Warriors. It doesn't absolve the U.S. women's national team.
These words I have no problem with you using. Absolve, I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with the extremes. No, I got a problem with the extremes.
What is the extreme?
The extreme is that Megan Rapinoe and the U.S. women's team have been absolutely, positively incredible over decades.
They have.
And they lost. Somebody finally caught up to them. Maybe the U.S. team's getting older. Maybe they had chemistry issues, which they clearly did. Maybe there was a little coaching disconnect. All those things are true, and they got beat.
Yes.
Okay? They got beat.
And because
pick up
and
the
this
pieces.
Is why I'm surprised you're actually on this side, Steiny, because
I'm always on the side of there's too much nuance in sports.
Exactly. That's
right.
why it's a failure.
That's right. It's not a failure.
But
that's why there's
failure.
Nuance. No, it's not. That's too broad.
Steiny, if in football, baseball, basketball, whatever sport you want to pick, if someone is an overwhelming favorite, and
now it's overwhelming. Give me the Vegas odds before the World Cup started, please.
Like, we're not talking about them being okay. So right
now,
now,
the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL, or better?
It's probably a wider gap between the Chiefs and the second team.
Really?
Because of what?
Just asking.
Because of the history that you just laid out. Because of all the pieces on the U.S. women's team that are together viewed as far more talented than the remainder of the teams. They're not there to participate. They're not there to get through the group stage. They're there to win it all. And we're talking about, again, I'd say the USA men's basketball team is probably favored more so to the rest of the group than the women's team was this year. But that's the expectation. When you don't bring home a championship or at the Olympics the gold, people are going to be pissed. And people are going to say some things that you might not agree with because they feel like you failed.
Okay. The most dominant, like outside of what, men's basketball and women's basketball?
You can be the most dominant team in international competition and fail. Like, just because you are great. And this is funny, too, because you always come down the roads of athletes that are great, that do deserve praise, that do have historical context for accomplishment. And yet, when it's time to basically come down their road, you do it. But you won't with this team.
Because they've done it already.
So have the Warriors, but you still rag on them every year.
No, I don't rag on them. The Warriors were not the best team in the league this year, so that's why it was not a failure to me that the Golden State Warriors got beat by the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs. I don't care that they were defending champions. To me, they weren't the best team in basketball this past year.
Yeah, why? Because Stephen Curry declined, Klay Thompson declined, Draymond Green declined.
Sure.
They're not absolved of criticism despite them heading to Springfield. Like, all three of those guys are Hall of Famers, and you're going to criticize them accordingly.
I'm not. Well, I'm not.
You're not going to criticize Steph, Klay, and Dre?
No. No.
Why?
Because they weren't the best team in the league. They're no longer the best team in the league.
But you were critical of their games this year because they weren't as good.
Well, I'm critical of their games as it relates to having a debate with somebody who's trying to tell me they are the best team in the league.
I don't think anybody was telling you they're the best team in the league.
There were a lot of people last year that are telling me, you, and everybody who would listen that they're going to get it going and they're going to win it again and they're going to repeat. That's why apparently this year was a failure, because people thought they were going to repeat.
But you and I are not viewing them as failures. Where we disagree is on the U.S. women's national team, because I do view that as a failure.
Okay.
Because they were the favorite.
Okay. And I'm just saying, at some point, the favorite gets beat.
Yeah, and
they didn't get beat 4 years ago. They didn't get beat 4 years before that. They got knocked off.